Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today I want to talk about everything guns in Battlefield 1, both what I've experienced, what I've seen from the menus, and what I've learned from other players' footage. There's going to be a little bit of light weapon stats here, analyzing gun classes, and even a little bit of theory crafting based on the menus. First things up, I want to talk about the quantity of weapons in this game and the weapon variations. There's technically 12 primary weapons in the game with 2 variations of each, so we have 24 primary weapons, plus we have the C96 carbine that the mechanic gets if you spawn into a tank or airplane. Then we also have 2 sidearms, so if you're counting primary weapons and sidearms, we have 27 guns in the pre-alpha, and I'm sure there's going to be more at launch. Now, we can theorize about how many weapons there might actually be at launch based on the menu system. Now, when you go to select your class, you can click on the primary weapon and it'll give you a list of 6 different guns, 3 different guns and 2 variations of each. However, if you click on the little customization button, it'll pop up another menu that actually shows you 10 locked weapon slots. Now, this doesn't mean that there's going to be 10 additional guns, but there could be 5 additional guns with 2 variations each, or maybe some of the guns will have 3 variations each, but it seems to indicate that there could be about 16 primary weapon variations per class. The sidearms also show 6 locked slots, so there could be a total of 8 sidearms if these locked slots are going to be filled at launch. So if each of those slots are filled up with a weapon or weapon variation, that means we're going to have about 73 primary and secondary weapon variations at the launch of the game. That is, of course, entirely a theory, but that would be pretty cool, and that would be a nice number of guns to begin with. Now, when we head back into the customization menu here and mouse over some of the guns, you'll see that they're sort of rudimentary weapon stats. We don't have hard numbers for damage, accuracy, hipfire, or control, but we do have little bars that kind of indicate how accurate they are when compared to other guns. We also have information on their rate of fire, their fire modes, their magazine size, ammunition capacity, and their damage drop-off as well as bullet drop-off. And when looking at the machine guns here, you can sort of get an idea about what some of them might be good at. For example, the Madsen Mg Tr looks like it has some of the best hipfire accuracy out of the other MGs, so if you don't want to ADS, this could be a good option. Now, as far as I can tell, the machine guns are the only guns in the game that do not come with bayonets, so you cannot do the bayonet charge with the support class. I also noticed that when firing the Lewis gun SU, it overheated before I got through a full magazine and actually stopped firing, and then heat waves came off of the barrel. So it does appear that overheating will be a gun mechanic in the game. It's probably exclusive to machine guns, and maybe even only some machine guns have it, but it's still kind of cool that it's in the game. Now let's take a look at the medic class and the allegedly semi-automatic weapons. However, you'll notice that 3 of the 6 weapon choices here actually have fully automatic fire modes. And although their rate of fire isn't insanely high, the damage is good enough to the point where these can hold their own in close quarters. When it comes to semi-auto weapons, I really enjoyed using the Mondragon MA because it actually came with a magnified optic. Also, I don't know if the abbreviations MA, AR, AU, TR are going to stick. Those might just be placeholders until they come up with a better suffix. Alright, let's take a look at the assault class weapons. They get 2 SMGs and then 1 shotgun with 2 variants apiece. Now, there's actually quite a bit of variety here when it comes to the assault weapons. I liked all of the assault weapons. I'm not entirely sure on what the difference is between the shotguns. They do have different optics. I'm not sure if they shoot different pellets or anything like that. The MP18 has more ammo than the Automatico, but the Automatico fires a lot faster, so you have a couple little trade-offs there. They were all really fun weapons to use. Moving on, we've got the bolt-action sniper rifles, and these were interesting weapons, and this is something where you actually probably will need to read up on the stats before you can perform better with these guns, because they all have a sweet spot. The sweet spot is where these guns can one-shot, body-shot kill without having to get a headshot, which is pretty darn cool, but the ranges for that differ depending on the rifle. In fact, just glancing at the stats, it seems like the SMLE Mark III has the closest range sweet spot. Then we have the Russian 1895 that sort of has the medium range sweet spot. And then we have the Gewehr 98, which has the longest range sweet spot. I'm actually not sure what to make of the Russian 1895 here. I have a feeling that a lot of these damage stats are not finalized in the actual menu. One thing I definitely like to see on the stats page is some numbers when it comes to the damage drop-off graph, like how much damage and how far away, and that would give even novice players a good starting point with how to figure out where the sweet spot is, because when you're looking at points around the map, it'll tell you your distance from them, and then you can kind of practice shooting at those distances with the rifles and figure it out, as opposed to sort of an ambiguous numberless graph. Now, it also appears that variations of machine guns will have bipods and variations will not have bipods. The same goes for bolt-action sniper rifles and even the medic classes DMR or semi-auto rifles. Some of those come with bipods. And if you missed yesterday's video, I talked about the bipod mechanics being greatly improved. They automatically deploy. They don't really lock you down, so you can just move away from your sight instantly if somebody sneaks up by you. So they're extremely fast to deploy. They'll kind of automatically deploy too if you're shooting over like a stone wall, over a fence or something like that, or if you just go prone. So you don't have to really activate them. As long as you're aiming down sights and you're prone or shooting over a wall, it'll pretty much latch on for you and give you the improved accuracy. Weapons with magnified scopes still have rifle glint. There are options to go with iron sights with bolt-action rifles and semi-automatic rifles as well, and you don't have to have the glints, and a lot of those rifles are also geared towards close-quarter combat as well. So there's just kind of cool trade-offs there. The glints are very visible like they have been in previous Battlefield games. Now, there's a really cool graphical update that's been applied to weapons that has to do with sort of the environment. If it starts raining, you'll get droplets of rain that sort of form on your weapon. They look incredible. The fidelity is great. But also, if you jump down in the dirt or the mud, you'll actually get dirt or mud on your gun. And if you stand back up, that'll just be on your gun until you die and have to respawn. So it's really cool to see your weapon and soldier kind of update and adapt to the environment based on what's going on around you. Another thing I mentioned in yesterday's video, but I still think is incredibly cool, is that a lot of the rifles, bolt-action rifles or semi-automatic rifles, load their ammunition through clips, 5-round clips. So if you have a 10-round magazine capacity, you can put 2 5-round clips in there and load it to the top very quickly. But if you say shoot off 4 rounds, you can't put a 5-round clip in there, so you have to individually load those 4 rounds. So there's actually a little bit of math in how many shots you should fire in order to reload faster. It might actually be more economical to shoot 5 shots instead of 4, or to shoot 10 shots instead of 9. Now, something that happened a lot in previous Battlefield games was secondary gunners popping out of a tank, or even a driver popping out of a tank to instantaneously just shoot somebody who is approaching on foot. They would take a shot with their main cannon. If they missed, they just pop out and shoot them very quickly with their primary weapon, and then pop back into the tank. No longer can you do this because your exiting animation basically puts your weapon down, and it takes a little bit of time to bring that weapon up to a firing position, and basically whoever's approaching your tank has a split-second advantage over you. So you can no longer use that tactic getting out of vehicles, and it's just something to be aware of. Now, I believe there's also an additional bullet physic that's been added to the engine that previous Battlefield games didn't have, and that's bullet drag. So basically in Battlefield 4, if you have a gun that shoots, say, 600 meters per second, the bullet's going to come out of the barrel going 600 meters per second, and it's going to hit its target way off in the distance, still going 600 meters per second. However, in real life, there's a lot of wind resistance and drag effect on the shot itself, so the speed it leaves the barrel is not the speed that it is usually traveling when it hits its target. So basically, the bullet slows down during its travel time, and this can affect bullet trajectories. This has been added to the game, I believe. This is what I've been told by a few devs. So that's pretty cool, and that might affect some of the sniping mechanics in the game, especially when targets get further away. You might actually have to lead more than you did in previous Battlefield games. Then again, bullet velocity all around is supposed to be a lot faster, so basically you're just going to have to get used to the new bullet physics. Anyway, I think some of the most important information here is like how the bipods work, the sniper rifle sweet spots, the fact that you can change some of the semi-automatic rifles to fully automatic. That's an incredibly good switch over. You just hit the V key to change the firing mode, and they become incredibly better in close quarter combat. I know that the stats page is certainly a pre-alpha version of the stats page, and I hope DICE continues to flesh it out a bit more. Those graphs really do need numbers so that we have a more accurate way to tell what what weapons do in game. I think they could use a lot more numbers, honestly, in the stats section. I think there's ways of doing it so that it's not scary to new players, or maybe there's like sort of a little advanced button you can hit and it'll give you all the numbers that you want, so that you don't have to like go to outside websites or watch YouTube videos necessarily just to try and figure out what a gun actually does. Because I know there's a lot of analytical players out there like myself who like to get whatever advantage they can and understand their weapons as best as possible. Anyway, that wraps it up for the Battlefield 1 weapons video. Let me know in the comments if you guys have figured out anything else cool or unique about these weapons, alternate fire modes that I might not know about. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.